A long time ago, it was 1997, I had probably something that's familiar to you guys. I lost my job. And I can tell you that back then, those were really the good old days. And that sounds kind of weird to say when you lose your job. But back then, employers ushered you out the door with a check in hand, and we called it severance pay at the time. And I took my severance pay and I did something pretty innovative with it. It was innovative for the time. I turned the opportunity into a business, and that's Simply Virtual that you see and hear about today. I hired a team of associates from all around the country to provide business productivity and project management services to our clients. And those clients were also based all around the country. We didn't sell our homes, and we didn't pack up our families to relocate, and we weren't housed in a single building. We each worked from our home offices, which when I initially started, they were all in the United States. By the time we grew to where we're at today, they're all over the world. Now, again, that probably doesn't sound innovative by today's standards. There are a lot of organizations who are adopting and working in flexible teams. But if you think about 1997 and where we were, man, I got to tell you, phones were not so smart back then, and clouds were something that you saw in a storm. It wasn't a computerized system connected network or anything like that. And viral was something that happened in our immune systems back in 1997. So with limited technology, our team had to figure out some creative ways to serve our clients. And another thing that we had to do was learn to get along, to grow, in order to build a business, which if nothing else could feed each of our families and maybe offer us a little bit of work-life balance. We certainly had to gel as a team. And we had to identify technologies that would allow us to do that. And we had to deliver projects for our clients, like you do, I'm sure, on time and within budget. In this case, even though we were hundreds and in some cases thousands of miles away from our clients and certainly away from each other. And so that's how I came to be here today. I found telework, if sometimes it's called, flexible work, virtual work. You'll hear that there's tons of terms for it, but it's one of the most effective and, in my opinion, productive means of working. But it can also be pretty frustrating, and it doesn't matter if your organization is large or if it's small. Implementing and maintaining flexible work teams, virtual work teams, remote work teams, it can be a challenging sticking point. Just talking about technology, nor am I just talking about infrastructure. We've got to consider how people work together, and we've got to build a workplace culture that embraces and supports and perhaps maybe even celebrates the associate, no matter their role, no matter their race, no matter their religion, their marital status, their sexual orientation, and so on and so on and so on. And then another thing that's important is to make sure that we align our processes and our policies to make it easier to work when we're miles and miles and miles away from each other. So I found that to be a pretty daunting challenge when my team couldn't see each other and couldn't have informal conversations in the hallway, the water cooler, or stop by each other's desks. That becomes a problem. And so that's what I want to share with you today is just a few snippets of our journey, and we'll talk about some important considerations for implementing flexible work programs or improving one if you already have one, and how you can work within flexible work teams successfully. So our roadmap for today looks like this. I assume that you understand what flexible work in general is and why it can be beneficial. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about what a virtual work team is, just kind of defining it from a level set perspective so we're all on the same page. And then we'll compare and contrast some of the benefits and the challenges that people run into when they're deploying it, or if you already have one, maybe you're already familiar with those. So what are some potential issues or obstacles that you should consider if you're thinking about a remote work program or you have a team that works remotely? What are the things that I need to consider to make that successful? And then the last bullet point that I want to cover is just how do you transition people and culture and processes with as little impact as possible to potential, could be impacting morale, it could impact productivity. Those are all some things that you need to think about when it comes to working effectively in a remote environment. So that said, let's keep moving here. I do want to talk just a little bit about what remote work is and why you would want to be thinking about it as a solution for your team or for your organization. I can tell you that, it's generally a good thing, but it can also be challenging, as I mentioned before, and we've seen some big players pull back on telework programs. Marissa Mayer comes to mind, and that's always one people pick on. But a lot of organizations are pulling back in the Charlotte area. A lot of the banks are reconsidering that. And I suspect that, I hope at least, that they're rethinking and they're retooling their programs rather than completely abandoning them. But, there's some inherent benefits and there's some drawbacks. Before we get into those, let's talk a little bit about what remote work is. And again, I told you I just want to do a quick level set so we're on the same page. I extracted this definition of virtual team from the book Mastering Virtual Teams by Deborah Duarte and Nancy Tennant Snyder. And the way they characterize a virtual team is as a group of people, technology, to collaborate across space, time, and organizational boundaries. And as I mentioned, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but the key, of course, is people. We use people, and we use technology to collaborate, and that's to work together to accomplish a particular goal. And, technology has changed a lot. You think about Thomas Edison way back when. I'm sure he thought he cornered the market on changes in technology when we could read a book together with the advent of the light bulb. Or Alexander Bell Graham, when he created the telephone, he probably thought he had to lock down on technology. I mean, it's changed so much. So we've come through a lot of changes, and people, of course, have changed as well. I'll tell you, as I'm thinking about the definition of a virtual team from Mastering Virtual Teams from Deborah Duarte and Nancy Tennant Snyder, I think it's a little bit off. It could be a little bit simplistic. So, and the reason why I say that, I watch a lot of football, and no more than you would describe the American football team, the New England Patriots, as a group of people using sports equipment to collaborate on a grassy field, right? It's a little more than that. We wouldn't describe a virtual team as merely a group of people who use the same technology to collaborate. And the Patriots, they do way more than just play on the field together using sports equipment. If you've not been under a rock for the past 5 or 6 years, and even this year they're doing really well. They are, whether you love them or you hate them, they're a force to be reckoned with. They changed the game. They've gone to division playoffs 13, 14 times in the last as many years. They're one of only 2 NFL teams to win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, and they're the only team with a 21-game winning streak ever. So they're powerful. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because virtual teams can be just as powerful. Let's talk a little bit about the power that we have and some of the benefits that come with virtual teams. First of all, they have the power to save your life. I'll say that one more time because maybe you didn't think about it that way. Virtual teams have the power to save your life. And not just your life, but your best friend's life and your neighbor's life, and the power to sustain the U.S. economy. And virtual teams have the power to reduce the effects of global warming. And I'll talk more about why they have that power and what you can do with them. But that's powerful if you think about it. Their big claims: save your life, sustain the economy, global warming. That's big talk. And if you were a corporate employee who were asking your boss, could I work from home? I want to save lives, probably isn't the first thing that you would share as your reasoning for it. You would probably be thinking more in line of all the other practical benefits that come from working from home and how it would help you or your family. I mean, perhaps you just want to have more flexibility in your schedule, or maybe you've got a small child or an ailing parent whom you'd like to care for during the day. And those are really cool benefits. But you would be really surprised to understand that there's a whole bigger picture out there of what terms like virtual team and remote work and telecommuting could mean for our world. And we're going to spend